Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got a legend, Rafael Cortez, with us. Hey, Rafael, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good, man. How are you? How
Doing
are you doing?
fantastic. Yeah, no,
Thanks for having me.
no, my absolute pleasure. I can't wait for us to jump in. You've got a ton going on. First, just kind of tell our listeners who you are, what you've been doing, and kind of how you got started, actually.
Well, I'm a real estate professional now, so I own a couple of businesses in real estate. I'm a broker as well. I'm in the Phoenix market, Maricopa County, and I'm currently coaching. I'm the head coach for the wholesaling program at Wholesaling Inc. And yeah, but I have a couple of things going on. They all revolve around real estate and coaching, consulting. I'm also an organizational psychologist, and that's where I kind of get to play with businesses and people all in the same type of scenario, right? So yeah, I mean that's me. I've been for the last 11 years. I've been really I dove deep into real estate. I've done rehabs, fix and flips. Now we have a wholesaling company. We have we do remodels and all that stuff through that same company as well. Traditional stuff, anything under the sun that that hits real estate pretty much it's something that we've worked with in the past.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's dig into that a little bit. So, kind of, how did you get started? I mean, what were you doing before you got into real estate, and why did you get into real estate?
So the good question. I became a fireman when I was 19. So very early age, I became a fireman, and this is in Yuma, a town that's a few hours away from here. But I got out of that the fire department life pretty much because I wanted to start a business, right? So I got the entrepreneur bug in bit me very, very early on. And at 23, I started looking at, actually at 21, I started looking at, setting up the business plan and kind of working with, how to build a business and whatnot. So long story short, from at the fire department, I kept seeing this specific type of transport, and it seemed like it was overhead, like it was overkill, and it's non-emergency medical transportation, so wheelchair and stretcher patient transport. So they would take an EMS unit, which is an ambulance, out of service to do a dialysis run or something that didn't require EMS. And that to me, I mean, it's expensive. It didn't make sense. So I started looking into that stuff. I spoke to one of my captains over there as well, and he had similar ideas. He guided me a bit. I ended up leaving the fire department and then launching a business in that. So when I started, it had nothing to do with real estate. It's totally transportation. The logistics were insane. It's a type of business that as you want to create profits, you also create overhead. So it's hard to scale. And I started playing around with it after several years. I figured what, I'm good. I have this kind of figured out. I'm gonna see what else I can do. And then I jumped into my first flip. I didn't know a thing about flipping, remodeling, or anything. I didn't cut the learning curve. I didn't, I did it the wrong way. and yeah, I lost a bit of cash on that first flip. The second one did a little better, but I saw the potential in real estate while I still had that the other business. And I decided to sell the business and go all in into just real estate, and became just really, really fixed on the real estate side of things. So yeah, now I own a brokerage here in town, and then Pulse Capital, which is the wholesale and flipping business as well that we have.
Oh, just really fascinating. I like the fact that you got a business that was like totally unrelated to real estate, and then when you found real estate, you got rid of that business. How did you kind of come to that decision? Was it kind of the whole taxes thing with real estate, or was just the fact that that business was kind of like you need to increase your OPEXs to increase your income? I mean, how did you make that
Well,
decision?
I started to I had this really great conversation early on when I was starting that business with one of the guys that ended up being a mentor of mine for a while, right? And he told me, whenever you build something, think about you not being there and having that business run itself. And I it resonated, so it sank in with me. And I started, the model was just not sustainable. I had, if it was gonna work, a transportation company, at least of that nature in my area, it was really hard to delegate. I couldn't. I could automate some of the stuff, but I would always have to hire. And then there was just stuff that it wasn't scalable, to that level, and the profits really were not. You could do a lot more with a lot less headaches in different industries. I just knew it. I mean, I knew there was a way to do it. I had to figure it out. And that's when I started looking at different things. Before I launched my next successful business after that one, I mean, I did go through 3 or 4 different projects or licensing. All right. So I launched a credit repair company, and then I moved on. Then I launched a respite and home health agency. Because of my medical background, I figured it was something that I could tap into, but started looking at regulation and then overhead and then the same thing. And I was like, no, it's by then I had a ton of employees and along with that, you had a ton of headaches and drama and it's just something that I wasn't, I was ready to move on from. I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I went to a Robert Kiyosaki seminar, and yeah, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book kind of opened it up, teed it up for me. I know it's done that for thousands of people, but it's cliche almost at this point. But yeah, that's how it happened, and it's just like, all right, this makes sense. I'm selling my business. I'm selling my company, and I did. Shortly after that, I found a buyer for it. The guy came in, took over, and sorry, somebody just popped in. But yeah, came in, took over, and I was just sitting there with, okay, what am I gonna do? Like now I really have to, dig my heels into this and make it happen, right?
Right. And then you dig your heels into it, and then you made it happen. You did your first flip, but it didn't go, as well. So how, and then you did the second, like it didn't go. So how were you feeling at that time? You sold your business. Now you've gone to real estate. You're really super invested. You did your first flip, didn't go as well as you planned. Second one, what made you? I mean, how did you keep going on? And how did that make you feel, I guess?
Well, I had a couple of things that were playing into it. I think one of the things that kind of kept me sane was that I was going through school at that same time, still working on my second master's degree in psychology. So, I mean, I was exposed to the mindset aspect of things on a, like I had to, because I had to write papers on that stuff. I had to almost do an auto analysis of myself every single day. Right. And as I was going through some of those challenges, I could, go back to that stage, of studies and it's like, all right, cool. I think that's where I'm at. And it just, started to create that mental awareness. I think that's one big thing that happened. And while I was going through that, but yeah, like you do get demoralized. Like, oh man, I thought I was gonna make $100,000 on this flip, and I lost 10K. Like, well, what's the deal with that? Yeah, but no, I got back from that and did a couple of flips, and then did better and better and better. And then I kind of stabilized the boat after a while. And what I mean by that is mainly the rhythm, right? Like the rhythm of life, because I had a rhythm when I had the transportation company, got rid of that. And then my overall activity changed. My routine changed, my schedule changed. So it was hard to kind of, figure out how to put those pieces together. But little by little, I started doing it. And then I came across wholesaling. And this was 2012. I came across wholesaling, and that's when I found out that you could sell your vested interest in a property and actually pretty much trade the paperwork. You're selling the contract, not the property itself. And I wasn't really married to doing flips, meaning swinging the hammer, dealing with the contractors. And I mean, that again was the people drama that I was trying to get away from initially from the transportation company.
Yes.
But it made a lot of sense. Like, all right, so if I source this way and I build a spread and negotiate and do this and that, I can sell that agreement and make a profit on that deal. Yep. And then I just got, better and better at it. And eventually I shifted or pivoted my whole plan from fix and flip to primarily wholesaling. So now it's a core of what we do. So fix and flips, that sort of thing. We'll cherry pick some of the properties that come our way. If we feel like flipping it. If not, we'll just do an assignment or a double closing on the contract.
And so, as you know, right, most people will kind of go to a real estate meetup or seminar, or whatever. They want to jump into wholesaling, right? But as you and I know, you have to be an at scale wholesaler, right? You got to be like, spending X amount of marketing dollars, right, to really get those deals and really have a solid pipeline. So for folks that are listening to this and thinking, hey, maybe I want to, jump into real estate and do wholesaling. What was that like? How were you able to create a really good runway in the beginning, like when you were starting out? Because it seems like, quite a lot of activities as well, right? So what did you do to kind of make you stand out?
So first off, for me was understanding what it was, right? It's not, it's a low entry, low barrier to entry. So that's really what wholesaling is. That's why it's so appealing, right? You can literally start, your wholesaling business tomorrow, and start looking for motivated sellers and that sort of thing. That's where the art comes in, right? It's the art of finding motivated sellers in those properties, taking it down and then assigning that contract for a profit, or double closing that contract. And for me, it was understanding what it was. So understanding the machine and doing a breakdown of, okay, this is one section of the business. This is another section of the business, another section of business, and growing into that whole, into that whole space. But it's, I think the biggest thing and the biggest misconception is that you can treat it like a side hustle. Most people, I'll keep my 9 to 5 and then I'll side hustle on wholesaling and then maybe do a year, one deal a year or something like that. And then after a while, they just, people get tired and there's a lot of attrition. So there's a lot of fallout of people that begin doing it because of a lack of consistency in marketing and all that, right? But you have to, when you go into it, you have to take it seriously. You have to not see it as a hustle, not as a side hustle. It's really something that can change livelihood, right? And help you reach that level of wealth that you're looking for. I know it's done it for me in multiple different scales. And if I were to do anything all over again, I would start with understanding and really dialing in the wholesaling process. But yeah, it's the biggest thing is going to be consistency and not treating it like a side project. You have to go in it and treat it like a business. Otherwise you can't, automate, delegate, or elevate.
Wow. Love that. That's really interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. I definitely want us to touch on, your best wholesaling deal, right? This is always like, I'm always curious. Every time I, interview a wholesaler, I'm always curious, what has been your best deal? It doesn't have to be you made the most money, but maybe you helped someone the most, but it's always nice to get the numbers too. Look, how much you bought it, how much you sold it, kind of the backstory to it. Just a little bit of a case study.
So this is a deal we did a couple of probably a year and a half ago, and it came in through a probate. So we had a probate campaign going out. Probates they're just a little harder leads to get to, and that's almost, sometimes it's where the juice is, right? But anyways, we had my God, the follow up on this deal was I think we followed up for just close to about 10 months. So we have, follow-ups. We put them in a follow-up sequence. The initial contact, and then, can we get an appointment? No, but call me next week. No, but call me next week. So we did just follow-ups like that for around 10 months. Finally settled on an appointment date, canceled on the appointment, canceled again on the appointment, multiple cancellations. And it was just, it was a headache to get that seller to the door. But what happens is you're still top of mind. Had we dropped the follow-up or not really had a process for it, this deal would have not happened. And the numbers ended up being very healthy. We ended up doing I think it was $78,000 spread on it by the time it was all said and done. And that's the assignment fee, not a flip, not a, it's just, that's what we got the spread on the contract for. So we still had, a good amount. There wasn't enough meat on the bone, actually good meat on the bones for the end buyer. So the flipper came in, bought it, and they did a top-notch renovation on it. And
wow.
Wow. They killed it on it as well. Yeah. But it's for us, it's the key is always going to be in the follow-up. And you can think about it that way, right? When I was growing up, well, even at the firehouse, you were looking at 60, 70K yearly. Putting all those hours in, putting all, yourself on the line, and it was just, the nature of the beast. And then this one deal comes along that, you knock it out. Yeah, it took a while to get, to the actual appointment, but once we were in the appointment, I mean, you're talking a matter of 3 weeks, and then boom, you have, a paycheck. But that's the, there's so many different ways in real estate to make things happen, right?
Right.
And I'm biased towards wholesaling because it's what I understand. I understand people. I understand negotiation. I understand how to structure deals, how to get creative on stuff, and seller financing and all that stuff that plays into it. But there's so many different ways. I mean, for example, you have a great business as well in multifamily that's it's thriving. So I think the moral of the story there is to understand that there's going to be fits to you as a person and the type of business that you want to run.
No, absolutely. If there's somebody listening and thinking like, hey, tomorrow I want to go start my wholesaling business, right? I know there's like direct mail, there's SEOs, like what would be that number one strategy you would give to that person? Like kind of like the golden ticket, right? To get started and actually stay winning.
So the golden ticket, right? Everybody wants that, the secret sauce, what is the one button that I got to push?
Exactly,
and
right. Just tell us the easy part, right?
Yeah, which one is that one button that I just got to push, and that's all I got to worry about? It doesn't exist. I mean, for anything that you do, you have to wrap your mindset around tenacity and grit. It's I always talk about that. If you're starting to, it's going to take either financial investment or elbow grease, one of the two, right? Either in time or money. You're going to have to put one of the two in. But if you were gonna start a wholesaling business and go out and try to find sellers and do your thing tomorrow, for example, the first thing actually during week one, when I'm coaching my students, it's we start building a power team. So you start looking for a power team, and networking is one thing. I mean, you have your network, you go to your ASRI events and investor associations and all that stuff, but you pick a select few of the people that you come across, and then you build this power team. And the main power team for somebody who's wholesaling is going to be your real estate attorney. That's one. Your title house or your closing attorney as well. Your lender. You want to have hard money lenders in that power team, and then agents, realtors in your area. So you have 4 people that you definitely want to have in that power team. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if you go straight to your title company, and the people that you're working within that that power team, that they're part of your team, right? You don't have to pay for them. They're professionals in their field, but you're tapping into their expertise, you're tapping into their resources, and they want to see you successful, especially title companies. Why? Because they want your business. Whenever you have a closing, they want you to bring the closing over to them. So go to your title company and ask them about the the resources they have available. They're gonna have seller lists. They're gonna have absentee owner lists. They're gonna have code violation lists. They're gonna have, well, maybe code violations are a little tougher, but they're gonna have 60-day late lists, for example, pre-foreclosure lists. And I mean, there's so many things that you can do with that once you have that information, but that's the fastest way to get to free info, and you can get to work. So if you don't have a cent in your pocket, you can still go to a title company and tell them that you're dropping marketing campaigns, you're a real estate investor, and you're going to be wholesaling. You want to bring them your deals and ask them to give you lists of sellers. So, homeowners, right? So you're talking absentee owners, pre-foreclosures, and 60-day late. Those are the top 3 lists that we get from title companies. But they're going to give you that stuff. When you have that stuff, you can go door knock, you can cold call them, you can do, whatever you need to, make sure that you're compliant in your area and all that. But yeah, it's the fastest way to start having conversations with sellers. Then you sit down with the seller, you figure out what the real problem is. It's not always about the money. You find the problem, bring a solution for that seller, get the contract signed, and then you sell your vested interest on that contract. But yeah, it's definitely setting up the foundation first with your power team, getting the resources to get you going, and then building up on those.
Wow, thank you so much for that secret sauce. Yeah, definitely. I think our listeners are gonna love that. You've also mentioned a lot about your coaching, right? I mean, I'm a big fan of having a mentor. So just tell us a little bit more about that, right? Wholesaling is such a big topic, and there's different strategies. So I can imagine, like, kind of having someone to just kind of guide you down that ride of success, pretty much. So just tell us a little bit more about that course.
Yeah, well, first off, coaching in general, it's going to be cutting the learning curve, right? It's borrowing experience from somebody, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can get coaching, you can consulting, but the point is that you're cutting the learning curve. I made a lot of mistakes when I started marketing campaigns, and I would drop a lot of money on marketing campaigns, and I was just dropping it in the wrong spots, not doing it, not processing the leads the right way, and that sort of thing. So thinking that I was going to figure everything out by myself, and not really tap into the experience that other people already had, just was costing money, right? And that's an investment. It's an investment on me at the end of the day. But yeah, coaching. So what we have is I'm the main coach for Wholesaling Inc, which is the Rhino Tribe, and we have a full program. I'm a systems guy, so the same way that I run my business is the same process that we have laid out. It's all linear. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, full of instructions on what to do, exactly when to do it, and how to do it the right way, and build it up like that. So yeah, but it's through wholesalinginc.com. If you guys want more information on that, that's a website to go to, wholesalinginc.com.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it really comes down to the results that you want to get, and how fast you want to get there, right? You can't
Right.
figure everything out, like most of us. I mean, YouTube University, we start just tapping into everything that can give you, the slightest hint of information. But what happens is that you end up with a lot of information. It's an overload. So you have an overload, and then you have the shiny object effect, because now there's a lot of stuff out there, but it can be confusing, right? You don't know how to put it together, the order of things, and I mean, that's a whole different beast.
Yeah, no,
But
totally agree. Totally
yeah,
agree. And to kind of add to that, if there's somebody listening and thinking, wow, like, this is really awesome. All they have to do is just go to that website, and then they can get in touch with you. So we're
mhm.
definitely dwelling to the quick rounds now. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What makes you, Rafael, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
My psychology background, I think. I'm an organizational psychologist, and I bring that into my businesses, into the way that I do things. It forces me to be huge on mindset, and I think mindset is the core foundation of any good entrepreneur out there.
Yeah, could not agree more. Could not agree more. Second question. What was the last book that you read? And what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
I just reread The Alchemist. I love that book, and there's a passage on it. It's talking about a spoon. The guy's in the desert, and he gets a spoon full of oil, and it's given to him by a prince. The prince tells him to go around and the compound and come back, but do not spill the oil inside that spoon, right? So Santiago, which is the main character, walks around with the spoonful of oil, and he's always looking at the spoon, looking at the spoon, looking at the spoon, and then comes back, doesn't spill a thing. It's perfect. And then, he sees the task is achieved, right? And then the prince tells him, yeah, but did you see my gardens? Did you see the golden statues? Did you see everything, the whole beauty that was around the place as you were walking through it? Like, no, because that wasn't like, that's not what you told me. Yeah, but you missed life. And I think, I mean, that's huge, especially as entrepreneurs, when we get caught up on the taskiness of things. We get caught up in not having that counterbalance that brings us, back to center. And for me, it was a good reminder, because sometimes I get so far into it that it's harder for me to get back out, and then
Yeah,
just kind
no,
of snap
totally.
into life.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, great book, great book.
Yep.
Yeah, final question. You're busy, you've got your students, you've got your business, you've got a ton going on. What do you do for fun?
Oh, brother, everything. I play guitar. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious at heart. So I mean, hiking, guitar, outdoor activities, gym. I mean, you name it, it's all there. Spending time with the kids. I mean, that's the best times. So I think for fun, it's I'm open minded. So it's exploring and trying new things. I mean, it's really what gets me on that space,
Yeah, no, I
that
I can
creative
totally
space. Yeah.
relate. Yeah, 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 definitely. If there's somebody listening thinking, wow, I really like this guy, maybe I want to get on his course, or I want to reach out, maybe they're in the Phoenix market, I mean the Arizona market, or anywhere in the
Mhm.
country, frankly. What's the best way people can get in touch with you directly and get connected with you?
To reach me directly, I'm pretty active on Instagram. So my handle is Rafael.ceopulse. That's CEOPULSE. So yeah, shoot me a DM there. And then the Wholesaling Inc. website, so wholesalinginc.com. That's where you can find out more about the coaching.
Rafael, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Learned a ton myself. Really, really appreciate you. Thank you.
Good deal, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.